Was the 2020 presidential election as straightforward as we were led to believe? That's the question we're trying to answer. You see, the 2020 presidential election was without a doubt one of the most contentious in history ever. It was a time of high political drama with allegations of voter fraud swirling like a hurricane in Oklahoma. These allegations weren't just whispers in the dark, folks. They were echoed by millions of my MAGA followers across the nation, causing a ripple effect that led to a countrywide sense of unease. It was a time when the integrity of our electoral process was questioned and the faith in our democratic systems was shaken. Now, let me say this. I'm not here to point fingers or lay blame. Sleepy Joe. I'm here to examine evidence that I've been promising for the last 4 years, shine a light on allegations, and make sense of the chaos that ensued as a result. We're here to explore the integrity of the 2020 presidential election. So what were these allegations? Unauthorized ballot harvest and voting machine glitches, questionable mail-in ballots, and alleged dead people casting votes. These aren't small concerns, folks. They're very, very important issues that can undermine the foundation of our perfect nation. And it wasn't just about these allegations. It was also about the response to them. There were so many legal battles, many recounts, and a lot of audits. I lost nearly all of them, by the way, but what are you going to do? MAGA protested and counter-protested, a whirlwind of activity all centered around my allegations of voter fraud. Throughout this video, we'll be unpacking these allegations. We'll be looking at the key pieces of evidence, which there was a lot of. So much evidence and affidavits. It's really sickening the amount of evidence we found of fraud. So much. We'll be taking each piece, turning it over, examining it from all angles, and trying to understand what it tells us about the 2020 presidential election. But remember, this is not a journey for the weak, faint of heart, or logical-minded, really. It's a journey into the heart of a storm where the winds of controversy blow strong and visibility is low, and it's cloudy with a chance of meatballs. It's a journey that requires balls, stubborn close-mindedness, and a commitment to whatever the hell I say at any given time, whether it babadooing makes rational sense or not. As we delve deeper into this dumpster fire narrative, the shadows of doubt start to creep in. Our journey begins in the early days of mail-in voting. As the pandemic raged on, voting from the comfort of home became the new norm. Yet, with this came a convenient flurry of allegations that tainted the process. The first whispers of fraud circulated, alleging that mail-in ballots were not as secure as they seemed. Unfounded rumors emerged of ballots found discarded. Suspicions arose that some were being deliberately misdirected or even destroyed. The narrative took an eerie turn when reports started to surface about zombies voting. I'm particularly proud of that one. Yes, you heard right, folks. Allegations of ballots being cast in the names of deceased people began to make the rounds. The idea that people could exploit the identities of the departed to sway an election was genius. I commissioned private parties to look into the possibility, and they found like a handful maybe. Kept that to myself, of course. Not helpful. Fake news. As the election drew closer, the claims grew bolder, bigger, more alarming. Which was the point? The spotlight turned to electronic voting machines, those unsung heroes of modern democracy. Thumbs down. Accusations of tampering started to circulate like a California wildfire. Some claimed that votes were being switched, others that votes were mysteriously disappearing. The machines themselves became characters in this unfolding daytime drama, their credibility questioned, their role scrutinized. Ha 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 ha. That's going to come back and bite someone later, but it's not me, so who cares? The MAGA crescendo of allegations reached its peak on Election Day. Rumors flooded in of illegal vote counts and irregularities at polling stations. Stories of unverified voters, of ballots being counted multiple times, of polling stations opening late or closing early. Every incident, every alleged irregularity, every discrepancy added another layer of intrigue to my story. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a straightforward process became a source of national anxiety. You're welcome. The allegations of fraud, whether substantiated or not, they weren't, cast a long shadow over the election. Each claim, each incident, each allegation was another piece in a complex and unsettling puzzle, which is kindling in this age of misinformation. As the timeline progresses, the plot thickens, and the integrity of the election hangs in the balance. The drama of the 2020 presidential election was not just about who would lead the nation, but about destabilizing the very process that would decide this leader. The chronology of allegations, the timeline of suspicion, paints a picture of an election fraught with controversy and doubt. Again, you're welcome. The evidence I put forth, so much evidence, my attorney general had evidence, Fox News, that weird pillow guy, and all the people had so much evidence of fraud, painted a picture that raised questions. So many vicious anomalies and irregularities, so many. Each one on its own might seem very small, but when viewed together, they're big, huge. Huge, I said. Okay, let's recap. Late night ballot dumps in a basket, the unusual spike in mail-in ballots, no. A pandemic doesn't explain that. Statistical anomalies and allegations of software glitches caused by Skynet. The Terminators are coming, folks. China virus. All of these elements, when combined, suggest me. I am your commander-in-chief. I won by a lot. It was a landslide victory in every state, even the blue ones. I won them all. Now, let's consider the implications when proven any day now, any day, very, very soon, any time. It's only been 4 years. Cut me some slack. These anomalies could have had the potential to influence the outcome of the 2020 election. And in a democracy, the sanctity of each vote is not paramount. I mean, it is paramount. It's what gives the system its legitimacy. If that sanctity is violated or just heavily rumored to be, it shakes the very foundation of democracy. It threatens public trust and fuels skepticism about the integrity of our voting process. That's going to come back to bite someone too. Whoops. In the aftermath of the 2020 election, these allegations led to a wave of investigations in court cases. Some were dismissed due to lack of evidence. Others, well, never mind those. The annoying quest for truth is thankfully a marathon, not a sprint. And while these investigations are necessary, thanks in no small part to me, they also contribute to the erosion of public trust. The longer the questions linger, the deeper the skepticism runs, and I will continue to fuel that skepticism as long as humanly possible. But let's be clear, the goal here isn't to undermine the democratic process, it's to completely obliterate it by shining a light on the same allegations I've made since the beginning, over and over, despite multiple recounts, lack of any evidence, Republican-led investigations, blah, blah, blah. I'm pushing for a system that I alone can subvert. In the end, the question remains, did these allegations change the course of our history or not? The answer isn't black and white, but one thing is certain, the pursuit of truth is not in my favor.